Hi there, Dirt Road Believers. This is Tina. Thanks for joining me. It's October the 7th, 2025. So we are working our way into fall. It feels really good outside on a Sunday morning, and I'm looking forward to fall break. We are on a break this week, and it did not turn out the way that I anticipated, but that's going to be part of my devotion. You know, oftentimes, I will prepare a devotion for you and then realize it was really for me. So today is part devotion, part testimony as to how God used this in my own life this week. The verse, I'm reading in Jeremiah right now, and the verse that I wrote down that really has just been, resounding in my head is Jeremiah 1:11. And God said, I watch over my word to accomplish it. And this is how I feel about today's devotion. All week, as I was meditating on this devotion and preparing, the whole time God was watching over it within me to make sure that He accomplished it. So I'm always glad to get to share the Word of God with you. Anytime we open this book, we get closer to Him when we lean in and when we try to hear what He's trying to say to us. Not what we want it to say, but what God is truly trying to say to us. So you've heard of the Beatitudes, right? Well, today it's the J-attitudes. We're going to look at 4 men in Scripture whose name all start with a J. And we're going to look at their attitude towards a few things. You know, when things don't go our way, what is our attitude like? When things are going our way, it's great. I mean, it's easy to have a good attitude, right? But when we're displeased, discomforted, diseased, displaced, or even disowned by the people we love, what is our attitude like then? So we're going to take a look at 4 men who experienced these adversities and these things that we all go through and see just what was their attitude like. And as we progress, we're going to look at 4 people. And as we progress, I think the attitude gets better and better. We're going to start with a negative attitude. And this is someone who was displeased. This is Jonah. And if you want to turn to Jonah chapter 4, we start out looking at a wrong attitude. Jonah, we're going to start at the beginning. Chapter 4 is pretty short. I may skip ahead a little bit. But this is entitled Jonah's Anger. Jonah was greatly displeased. And because he was displeased, he became furious. How often do things not go our way? We are displeased with the circumstances, with the outcome. And so we become what? Angry. That's what happened with Jonah. He prayed to the Lord, please, Lord, this isn't what I thought while I was still in my own country. That's why I fled toward Tarshish in the first place. I knew that you are a gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger, abounding in faithful love, and the one who relents from sending disaster. And now, Lord, just take my life from me. It's better for me to be dead than to have to live through this. And the Lord said, is it right for you to be angry? Jonah left the city and found a place east of it, and he made a shelter there and sat in its shade to see what would happen to the city. Then the Lord appointed a plant, and it grew over Jonah to provide shade for his head, to rescue him from his trouble. When dawn came the next day, God appointed a worm that attacked the plant, and the plant withered away. As the sun was rising, God appointed a scorching east wind. The sun beat down on Jonah's head so much that he almost fainted, and he wanted to die. He said, it's better for me to die than to live. Then God asked him again, Jonah, is it right for you to be angry about this plant? Yes, it's right, he said. I'm angry enough to die. And the Lord said, look, you cared about a plant which you did not labor over. You did not grow it. It just appeared in the night and then perished the next night. But may I not care about the great city of Nineveh, which has more than 120,000 people who cannot distinguish between their right and their left, as well as many animals. So we see a couple of things here in Jonah's wrong attitude. First of all, it was God who brought the plant. it was God who took the plant away. Sometimes we like to say, "Oh, God would never do anything bad." You even heard Jonah, but you're a compassionate God. You're slow to anger. He's trying to convince God of his own character, but he's still. I'd just rather die. So he gets some comfort, some pleasure from this plant. It's there one day, gone the next, and he's angry. And God's like, "Look, I give, I take away, but your true character is going to come out when something is taken away." And so God's asking him in the end, "Look, I've sent you to this city, to all these people who are perishing. They don't know up from down, left from right. And instead of you being worried about lost people and trying to reach lost people for me, you are worried about a plant that you didn't even do anything to get in the first place." So the first J attitude is Jonah. And it is a negative attitude. And that is, I don't get what I want, or I lost something that I liked. I'm displeased in some way. And so my reaction is, I'm angry with God. And God's like, "Is it right for you to be angry, Jonah? Is that really right?" And I think he asks us the same thing. Is it right? All right, let's move on to a better attitude. This is our second J attitude. And we're going to find it in Job. Job, as you know, he lost it all. And this is a lot shorter. This is Job chapter 2. We're going to read verses, let's start in verse 6 and we'll go through verse 10. "Very well," the Lord told Satan, "he's in your power, only spare Job's life." So Satan left the Lord's presence and infected Job with terrible boils from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. Then Job took a piece of broken pottery to scrape himself while he sat among the ashes. His wife said to him, "Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die." And verse 10 says, "You speak as a foolish woman speaks," he told her. "Should we accept only good from God and not adversity?" I love this because Job has shown something that Jonah did not show. Jonah showed refusal to accept the bad. He just got angry. Job shows acceptance here. He's sitting among the ashes. He's got this broken piece of pottery. He's trying to get the whatever's in these boils, pus, fluid, out. But he is not saying anything negative against God. And his wife is mad enough to say, "Stop holding on to whatever this respect or integrity you have is towards God. Just curse God and die. Like, get it over with," which is exactly how Jonah felt, right? "I'd rather just die." And Job says, how can we accept the good and the blessings from God, but not the adversity? See, Job got it. Job accepted that God's going to send good our way, but he's also going to allow some bad to come our way too. That's where our character is and our integrity towards God is tested and proven right there. So the attitude, the J attitude, is getting better and better. It's going to get better with Joseph, our third J. So, and I'm getting to my personal testimony, I promise. But let's go to Genesis, which starts with a G, not a J. I had a student this week come up to me and say, "Oh, Miss Lee, so-and-so said a bad word. He said the G word." And I'm like, "Oh, no." I don't know that one. So I called the little boy over. I was like, "Did you say the G word?" And he's like, "Mm-hmm." I said, "Well, what is the G word?" He said, "Jesus." Genesis, G. Joseph, J. So in Genesis 50:20, Joseph says, and Joseph has a long involved story, but basically Joseph is displaced. He was disowned by his brothers, sold into slavery, displaced from his home of Israel into Egypt, a long story, but he went from prison to power. He's second in command to the Pharaoh. And then he gets the chance to meet his brothers again, and they are terrified that he is going to kill them all. And Joseph says in verse 19 and 20 to his brothers of Genesis 50, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You planned evil against me. God planned it for good to bring about this present result." And so Joseph's response to adversity, and for him it was being disowned by his own family, displaced to another country, his reaction on the back end of it was, look, you meant it to harm me, you meant it for evil, God meant it for good. Look at all he has brought about. And he had no bitterness towards his brothers. He was actually grateful for what bad happened to him, because it brought about something that God was trying to accomplish. I will watch over my word to accomplish it, he says in Jeremiah 1:11. And so we went from Jonah, who refused to believe that bad could be from God. Then we went to Job, who accepted. I welcome the good. I welcome the bad. Acceptance. And then we have Joseph, who gets it. He goes one step further to the realization that, you know what? The bad things that happen in my life are really for God's good. If I will persevere, if I will hang in there, hang on to my integrity and my respect for the Lord and continue in my walk, then he will actually use it for good. I'm going to share how my fall break plans changed, and then I'm going to get to our final J, which you've probably already guessed is Jesus, and how he handled adversity and the bad that came his way. So my mom and I had planned this week, just the two of us, we're going to go to the Ark. We were going to go to the Creation Museum, looking so forward to it. Friday night's game, my sweet Mac Lee, senior number 60 on the football team, went down and did not get up. And it's a bad sign when they turn around and call the parents down to the sidelines. And so we went down there, and after getting an x-ray and everything, Mac's ankle is shot. It's broken, it's displaced way over. He's got to have surgery. We don't know when. We've got to go see the orthopedist tomorrow and then line that up. So everything changed for me, not just in my travel plans, but, as a parent with a kid who is facing surgery and, his sports has ended as a senior. It's a tough pill to swallow. But this devotion totally prepared me for that, because in my prayers, I was saying the same thing that Job and Joseph were saying. God, you've brought a lot of good our way. We've been able to see this kid perform in sports and do all the things that he's wanted to do all this time. So thank you, because you gave us that. But you know what? You also give us bad. And then to take it a step further, you allow bad into our lives, but you ultimately use it for your good. And although I'm not on the back end of it like Joseph right now, I can't really see why God allowed this, or how he's going to use it. I know that he is. And so I'm so grateful for these J attitudes that I was able to study up on ahead of time, because boy, have they given me strength and vision, and I've been able to speak that to my son as well. So prayers for Mac this week, as he's going to be going through some unpleasant stuff. It's unpleasant now. I think this is about as unpleasant as it gets, is sitting around with your ankle shot and just having to sit there. But he has done great. He's had a good attitude. All right, let's go to J, our final J, and that is Jesus, the best J attitude of all. Jesus, he's in a league of his own, okay? He was a human, he was a man just like these other three men, but he was also divinity from heaven brought to earth. And he never refused bad, okay? He only understood that I have to go through this. His acceptance was his prediction of his own death to his disciples. They didn't really understand it at the time, but he accepted what was coming his way, the cross, and he predicted his own death. He had a realization, and the realization, even though if there was a refusal, it was his prayer to God. God, take this cup from me. Don't let me go through this. But how did he follow it up? But not my will, your will. And then the realization upon the cross of, what he was going through this for, and that evil that was thrust upon him on the cross, the discomfort, the displacement, the being disowned by his own people, the Jews. It was all because of the forgiveness of sins. And he says from the cross, Father, forgive them. They do not know what they do. And then finally he says, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. If we really want to know how to handle adversity, if we really want to know how to handle displeasure, discontentment, disease, displacement, being disowned by those we love, we look to Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. And he experienced so much adversity during his lifetime, but he handled it just the way only our Jesus would. And so we always look to him. Guys, thanks for being with me today for the J Attitudes. I hope that you got something out of this for your own life right now. And if you think of someone else going through a very difficult time, please share this with them. Like, share, subscribe. That really helps this channel. And I am so grateful to those of you who joined me today and those who join me week after week. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm going to see you next week, next Tuesday. Until then, slow down. Take the dirt road, believer.